You ever hear someone say, just improve 1% every day? And you're like, buddy, 1%? That's nothing. I can't even notice a 1% difference in my Wi-Fi speed, and you want me to rebuild my life with that. But here's where the magic happens. That tiny, barely visible 1% isn't small at all once it starts snowballing. It's like compound interest, but instead of your money working for you, it's your habits, your effort, and your mindset doing the heavy lifting. Think of it like putting in $1 of effort each day, and suddenly, months later, you've somehow earned yourself a mansion of growth without realizing it. Wild, right? Let's make it super simple. Imagine you start going to the gym today and you lift a small weight, like, embarrassingly small, something that would make The Rock chuckle. But instead of quitting because you don't see abs by Friday, you show up again tomorrow and the next day and the next. Every single day you just push yourself a little more. 1 extra rep, 1 better meal, 1 minute more of sleep. That 1% doesn't feel like much today. But after a year, that 1% a day becomes about 37 times better than where you started. That's not motivation speech math, that's literal compounding math. If you get 1% better each day for 365 days mathematically, you end up 37 times better than you were. That's basically going from I can't do a push-up to I could probably arm wrestle a bear if it came to it. See, the beauty of compounding is that it's sneaky. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or confetti. It hides behind patience and consistency. You don't notice the change until one day your brain or your body just does something incredible automatically and you're like, wait, when did that happen? The problem is, most people quit before compounding even has a chance to work. They give up when they can't see instant results. But compounding doesn't care about your impatience. It rewards those who stay in the game long enough to let the small stuff pile up. It's like planting a seed and standing there yelling at it to grow faster. You look ridiculous. But if you water it daily, give it sunlight, and stop poking it every 2 seconds, one day it just blooms. Now let's flip it around, because compounding has a dark side too. Getting 1% worse every day also compounds. You skip 1 workout, eat 1 extra donut, scroll 1 extra hour on TikTok, just this once. But just once becomes every night, and suddenly your energy is down, your motivation's gone, and your progress is buried under a mountain of regret and cookie crumbs. The same compounding force that can build you up can also break you down. It doesn't care which direction you use it, it just multiplies whatever you feed it. And that's the crazy part. You don't even have to make massive leaps. You just have to avoid massive backslides. Think of life like brushing your teeth. You don't skip brushing for a month and then say, I'll just brush for 4 hours on Sunday to make up for it. That's not how it works. Improvement doesn't come from one big day of effort. It comes from showing up with tiny consistent actions. The same way your teeth don't fall out if you miss brushing once, your goals don't collapse if you miss one day, but the pattern matters. Consistency stacks. That's compounding. Here's the fun part. The first few weeks of any new habit? They're brutal. Your brain's like, why are we doing this? No one's watching. Let's just stay the same. But you keep at it anyway, and soon, things that felt impossible become automatic. Your body adapts, your mind sharpens, your habits solidify. You build momentum. Momentum is compounding's secret partner. It's what keeps the ball rolling once it starts moving. You start drinking more water and suddenly you feel more energetic, so you work out more, so you sleep better, so you eat better. One small thing compounds into a chain reaction of wins. Let's say you decide to learn something new, maybe a new skill like playing guitar. On day 1, your fingers hurt, your notes sound like a dying robot, and you're wondering if you should have just learned the kazoo instead. But then you practice for 15 minutes a day. That's it. 1% better each day. In a month, you're strumming simple songs. In 6 months, you're jamming. In a year, your friends are asking you to play at parties. Did you become amazing overnight? No. You compounded daily effort into visible talent. This principle applies everywhere. Your career, relationships, health, mindset, finances, everything. If you learn 1 new thing a day in your job, in a year, you'll know 365 more things than your coworkers. If you save a little bit of money each week, that grows. If you tell your partner 1 kind thing every day, that love deepens. The small things matter more than the big declarations. The universe isn't asking for a giant leap, it's asking for a daily step. The hard truth is, most people want dramatic transformation without the boring part. We all want to skip to the montage where everything's magically better. But compounding doesn't work in Hollywood time, it works in real time. You might not feel the difference today or tomorrow or even next week. But 6 months from now, you'll look back and barely recognize yourself. That's the quiet power of compounding. It's working even when you can't see it. It's like your future self is cheering from the sidelines, yelling, Keep going, you have no idea how proud you're about to make me. And that's the whole point. Your job is just to show up and give that 1% today. Don't worry about being perfect. Perfection doesn't compound, progress does. Every small win, every micro improvement, every ounce of discipline builds your personal growth account. And someday you'll wake up rich, not in money but in skill, confidence, and self-respect. So yeah, improving 1% daily might sound like nothing. But over time, it's everything. It's how you turn small habits into huge results, how you go from average to exceptional, how you outgrow your excuses and your old self. It's slow, steady, invisible magic, and the only trick is sticking with it long enough to see it work. The question isn't, can I get better? It's, can I keep showing up even when it doesn't look like it's working yet? Because if you can do that, congratulations, you just hacked life's most powerful growth formula. And hey, if 1% still sounds too small, remember this, even 0.5% is better than 0%. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep compounding. One day at a time. One tiny step at a time. That's how you go from just trying to completely transformed. It's not flashy. It's not fast. But it's foolproof. And when you finally look back at how far you've come, you'll laugh at how that tiny 1% ended up changing everything. You know how every January we all become these overly ambitious life planners? We buy fancy notebooks, make color-coded charts, and announce, "This is the year I get my life together." We set goals like, I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m., run 5 miles, eat kale, read 10 books a month, and probably invent something before lunch. And then, 2 weeks later, that same notebook becomes a coffee coaster, the kale dies in the fridge, and suddenly you're like, you know what? I'll start next Monday. Don't worry, you're not broken, your system is. See, goals are easy to dream about, but systems are what make those dreams actually happen. Real success doesn't come from setting goals, it comes from building habits and routines that make good behavior automatic. Think of it like this, goals are the destination but systems are the GPS that actually gets you there. You can say, I want to drive to California, but if your car doesn't have gas, your tires are flat, and your GPS is screaming recalculating every 5 seconds, you're not going anywhere. Systems are what keep you moving even on days when you don't feel motivated, especially on those days. Because motivation is like your flaky friend who hypes you up for the gym but always cancels last minute. Systems don't cancel. Systems show up even when you don't feel like it. Let's say your goal is to lose weight. You write it down. You're pumped. You even buy new sneakers. But a goal alone doesn't burn calories, your habits do. So instead of obsessing over, I need to lose 20 pounds, focus on the system. Going for a walk after dinner, prepping meals every Sunday, drinking more water, sleeping earlier. These tiny actions build momentum. Before you know it, the scale changes, not because you fixated on the goal but because your system made the right behavior automatic. The goal was just the spark, the system was the engine. Now here's the funny thing, goals can actually backfire sometimes. They make us feel like we'll only be happy after we achieve them. You know that classic, I'll be happy when, mindset, I'll be happy when I get fit, I'll be happy when I make 6 figures, I'll be happy when my ex texts me back. Okay, maybe skip that last one. But when happiness lives on the other side of a goal, you're basically telling your brain, you can't enjoy life until you reach this finish line. Systems, on the other hand, make happiness part of the process. You enjoy the daily rhythm, the routine, the little wins. And ironically, that's what makes the big wins happen faster. Take writers, for example. Every writer wants to write a book, but if they sit there staring at the screen waiting for inspiration, nothing happens. The system is what saves them. Writing for an hour each morning no matter what. Even if the words are terrible, they're still building the muscle. Soon the pages add up. The system does the heavy lifting, the goal just gives it direction. Same with musicians, athletes, or even students, you don't pass exams because your goal was to get an A. You pass because your system was to study for 30 minutes daily, review notes, and sleep enough to remember what mitochondria actually do. Systems are about identity, not just outcomes. When you focus on systems, you shift from I want this to I am this. Instead of saying, I want to be a runner, you say, I'm someone who runs every day. Instead of, I want to be organized, it becomes, I'm someone who keeps things tidy. This mindset change is sneaky but powerful. Because once your identity aligns with your system, your behavior follows naturally. You no longer need to force good habits, they become part of who you are. And that's where people get stuck. They think success is about massive effort, when really, it's about making good choices easier and bad choices harder. You don't need superhuman discipline, you just need a system that doesn't rely on willpower. Willpower is like your phone battery, it drains fast. But systems? Systems are like plugging your habits into a power outlet that keeps charging them. For example, if you want to eat healthier, don't keep cookies in the house. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow. If you want to save money, set up automatic transfers so you can't accidentally buy that $60 scented candle that smells like debt. It's the small design tweaks that make all the difference. Want to work out? Keep your gym clothes next to your bed. Want to drink more water? Keep a bottle at your desk. Want to spend less time on your phone? Leave it in another room while you sleep. You're not fighting bad habits, you're outsmarting them. You're creating an environment that makes good behavior the path of least resistance. The truth is, goals are sexy because they sound impressive. I'm gonna run a marathon. I'm gonna learn Spanish. I'm gonna start a business. Those statements make you feel good immediately. It's like your brain throws you a little party for saying it, even if you never do it. But systems are boring. Systems are the daily grind, the repetition, the unglamorous stuff no one claps for. No one's posting, just meal prep chicken and broccoli again, on Instagram. But that boring consistency is what separates dreamers from doers. Let me tell you something that'll sting a little. Every person who's crushing it, the fit ones, the wealthy ones, the talented ones, they're not better than you. They just built better systems. They stopped relying on motivation and made their good habits automatic. They didn't sprint, they built habits that walk for them every day. You might think, okay, but what if my system fails? Good question. Systems fail when they're unrealistic or complicated. The best systems are simple enough to work even on your worst days. You should be able to do them half asleep and still get results. A solid system survives mood swings, busy schedules, and even bad weather. Because life will test you. The trick is to build routines that don't crumble every time things get inconvenient. And here's the cool part. When your system is solid, you don't have to constantly chase results. Results start chasing you. You become consistent without forcing it. You look up one day and realize, wait, I'm actually living the life I used to daydream about. That's the power of systems. They make success inevitable. So next time you're tempted to set another big goal, pause and ask yourself, what system will get me there? Because goals give you direction, but systems give you progress. The goal is the what, but the system is the how. Without the how, the what doesn't stand a chance. You can't build a skyscraper by staring at the top floor. You start by laying bricks, one then another and another until suddenly you're standing on something solid. In the end, behavior change isn't about doing more, it's about doing smarter. It's about building a life that runs smoothly even when you don't feel like trying. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So build good ones. Build ones that make success feel easy. And remember, if you ever feel like quitting, just adjust your system, don't throw out your dream. Because the people who make it, they're not the ones with the best goals. They're the ones with the best routines. And that's not just self-help talk, that's behavioral physics. Systems are the gravity of success. Build them right and they'll pull you exactly where you want to go, without you even realizing how far you've come. You ever notice how most of us start self-improvement with phrases like, I want to lose weight, or I want to start working out, or I want to eat healthier? Sounds great, right? Motivational. Ambitious. But here's the thing, that language actually traps you in the mindset of someone trying to change, not becoming someone new. You're basically telling yourself, I'm not this person yet. And that's where identity-based habits come in. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, you start saying, I'm becoming a runner. It might sound like a tiny change, but trust me, that shift in identity changes everything. It's the difference between forcing yourself to act like someone else and deciding, hey, this is just who I am now. Think about it, every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. If you pick up your sneakers and go for a jog, that's a vote for, I'm a runner. If you sit down to write a few paragraphs, that's a vote for, I'm a writer. Every salad, every skipped cigarette, every book you read, those aren't random actions, they're identity confirmations. Over time, your brain starts catching on, wait, maybe this is who I am. And when your identity shifts, consistency stops feeling like effort. You're no longer dragging yourself to the gym, you're just living in alignment with your new self. The problem is, most people focus on outcomes, not identity. They say, I want to lose 10 pounds, not, I'm someone who takes care of my body. Or, I want to save $5,000, instead of, I'm someone who manages money wisely. When you chase outcomes, you're always waiting for proof before believing in yourself. You won't feel like a healthy person until the scale moves, or like a writer until you publish something. But when you build your identity first, the behavior becomes automatic. You don't need to constantly push yourself. It just feels natural. Let's use a funny example. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. Both are offered a cigarette. The first one says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Sounds determined, right? But hidden in that sentence is doubt. "I'm still a smoker, just one who's trying to change." The second person says, "No thanks, I don't smoke." Boom. Totally different energy. Same action but a completely different identity. The first is fighting old habits. The second has already moved on. One is in a tug of war, the other has dropped the rope. That's the power of identity. It makes behavior change effortless because it stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Now, of course, you don't become a new person overnight. You can't just say, "I'm a millionaire," and expect your bank account to start clapping. Identity-based habits grow from repeated evidence. Every small win reinforces the story you're writing about yourself. It's like carving a statue, one small chip at a time until the shape of your new self emerges. The secret is to start small but consistent. Want to be a reader? Read 2 pages a night. Want to be fit? Do 10 push-ups a day. Want to be calm and centered? Take 2 deep breaths before reacting to something dumb on the internet. The scale of the action doesn't matter as much as the repetition. Each act is a vote and your identity wins by majority rule. And let's be real, this approach saves you from that exhausting motivation roller coaster. Because when your identity aligns with your goals, you don't have to hype yourself up every morning. You don't need to say, "Ugh, I have to go to the gym." You just think, "Of course I'm going, I'm a gym person." You stop negotiating with yourself. It's like brushing your teeth, you don't debate it, you just do it because it's who you are. The brain loves consistency. When your behavior matches your identity, it rewards you with peace of mind and momentum. But here's where it gets tricky, identity works both ways. If you keep calling yourself lazy, disorganized, or a procrastinator, your brain believes it. You act out that script because it feels familiar. So the same tool that can build success can also reinforce failure if you're careless with your words. That's why changing how you see yourself is the real first step. Don't call yourself someone who's bad at saving money. Call yourself someone learning to manage money better. One sounds fixed, the other sounds in progress. You're not lying to yourself, you're rebranding yourself. Even companies do it all the time. If Twitter can become X, you can absolutely upgrade your self-image too. Think of your identity like a thermostat. It sets the standard for your behavior. If your identity says, "I'm not athletic," then every time you try to work out, your brain freaks out because it doesn't match your setting. But when you slowly nudge that thermostat to, "I'm someone who takes care of my health," your actions start following. You stop self-sabotaging because you're no longer fighting your own story. You're just living it. Here's a simple exercise. Next time you want to change something about yourself, don't ask, "What do I want to achieve?" Ask, "Who do I want to become?" The answer to that question will guide your habits. If you want to become a writer, what would a writer do today? Probably write, even if it's just 1 paragraph. If you want to become healthy, what would a healthy person eat right now? Probably something that doesn't come in a drive-through bag. Once you think like the person you want to be, your actions start to match naturally. And here's the coolest part. Identity change isn't fake it till you make it. It's more like practice it till you become it. You don't have to fully believe it right away. Belief grows through evidence. Each time you follow through, that belief gets stronger. It's like collecting receipts for your new identity. The more receipts you stack, the more unshakable your confidence becomes. Let's say you've always told yourself, "I'm not a morning person." Okay, cool, but what if you started acting like one just for a week? You wake up early, stretch, maybe drink coffee like a civilized human instead of a zombie. After a few days, your brain starts whispering, "Wait, maybe we are morning people." And then, congratulations, you've tricked your brain into evolving. You didn't wait for the identity to show up first. You created it through repeated proof. The truth is, we often underestimate how much identity drives behavior. It's not willpower that keeps someone consistent. It's alignment. A runner doesn't wake up every morning debating whether to run. They run because it's who they are. A writer doesn't say, "I should probably write today." They write because that's their identity. Once your sense of self supports your actions, discipline becomes unnecessary. You don't need to push yourself anymore. You just do what feels natural. So yes, stop saying, "I want to run a marathon." Start saying, "I'm becoming a runner." Don't say, "I want to get fit." Say, "I'm the kind of person who doesn't skip workouts." Don't say, "I want to read more." Say, "I'm a reader." Those words matter more than you think. You're not describing your current self, you're designing your future one. Because at the end of the day, behavior change isn't about chasing results. It's about becoming someone who naturally creates those results. You can't permanently change your actions until you change the story behind them. So build your identity like a muscle. One habit at a time, one small win at a time until it becomes unshakable. Let's be honest, nothing's more frustrating than working your butt off and seeing absolutely nothing happen. You start a new habit, you're all fired up, you're putting in the effort, eating clean, showing up early, doing everything the motivational quotes on Instagram told you to do, and yet nothing changes. You're like, excuse me universe, I've been drinking kale smoothies for 2 weeks. Where are my abs? And that's where the magic and mystery of the plateau of latent potential comes in. It's that weird, silent phase in growth where you're improving, but you can't see it yet. It feels like you're climbing a mountain that never ends, but really you're just walking through the fog before the view clears up. Think of it like this. You're trying to melt an ice cube. You're in a room that's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. You turn up the heat, 26 degrees, 27 degrees, 28 degrees, still ice. 29 degrees, 30 degrees, 31 degrees, nothing. You're starting to wonder if your thermostat's broken. But then, 32 degrees. Boom. The ice melts. That one single degree makes all the difference. But here's the thing. All those degrees before 32 weren't wasted. They were setting the stage for the breakthrough. Without that slow build-up, that melting point would have never come. That's exactly how growth works. Invisible progress stacking quietly until suddenly everyone's like, whoa, when did you get so good? We all live in that invisible zone more often than we'd like to admit. You're learning guitar, your fingers hurt, your chords sound like a cat falling downstairs, and you're thinking, maybe I'm just not talented. But then one random day your fingers move smoothly and your music actually sounds like music. That's not luck. That's the result of 100 tiny sessions where it felt like nothing was happening. You were warming the ice all along. The plateau of latent potential is basically life's way of testing how serious you are. It's like, you want results? Cool. Let's see if you're willing to keep going even when you don't see them yet. Most people quit during that phase. They stop right before the breakthrough, like miners who give up 1 inch before hitting gold. But those who stay consistent, they're the ones who get the overnight success everyone else gawks at. And let's be clear, there's no such thing as overnight success. It's just long-term consistency that finally becomes visible all at once. You ever see someone post on social media like, I just landed my dream job, or I lost 50 pounds, or I hit 1 million subscribers, and you're like, wow, lucky them. But what you didn't see were the late nights, the rejections, the boring routines, the days they doubted everything. You only see the tip of the iceberg, not the massive chunk of effort below the surface. That's what the plateau is, the quiet, unglamorous grind that no one applauds but that makes everything possible. Here's the tricky part, during the plateau your brain starts playing tricks on you. It whispers stuff like, this isn't working, or maybe you're not cut out for this, or let's just take 1 day off, or maybe forever. That's when you have to remember the ice cube. You can't rush 32 degrees, you can only keep turning the dial up. Progress is happening whether you see it or not. Your brain, your body, your habits, they're rewiring underneath the surface. Change is brewing invisibly until it can't stay hidden anymore. Think about bamboo. Yeah, bamboo, that chill plant that pandas love. When you plant bamboo, it does nothing for like 5 years. You water it, take care of it, and it just sits there like, nah, I'm good. Then suddenly, in the 5th year, it shoots up over 80 feet in just 6 weeks. Did it really grow in 6 weeks? No. It was growing the whole time underground, building roots strong enough to handle that explosion of growth. You're the same way, your roots are forming in that quiet, invisible phase. When your growth finally shows, it's because the foundation beneath you got solid first. The plateau is like being stuck in buffering mode. You're doing all the work, reading, learning, training, but life's progress bar is just sitting there at 99% frozen. You're staring at it like, any day now. But here's the secret, the buffering isn't broken, it's building. It's processing all that unseen progress so that when it finally loads, it's smooth and unstoppable. And you know what's kind of hilarious? When you finally hit your breakthrough, everyone around you will think it happened fast. They'll say, you're so talented, or you're so lucky. But you'll know the truth, it wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was stubborn consistency through months or years of invisible grind. You didn't suddenly get better. You were getting better the whole time, it just took a while for the world and even you to notice. The plateau of latent potential teaches one of life's hardest lessons, patience. In a world where we can order food, stream movies, and get instant answers in seconds, we've forgotten what slow progress feels like. We expect transformation to come with a loading bar. But self-growth doesn't give you a progress percentage. You don't get a notification saying, "You're 67% closer to your dream body." It's a leap of faith. You keep showing up, not because you see results, but because you believe in the process. That's the real test. Can you trust the invisible? And let's be real, sometimes the plateau feels like emotional torture. You start wondering, why am I the only one not moving forward? You look around and everyone else seems to be sprinting while you're jogging in place. But that's the illusion of progress. Everyone has their own 32-degree moment. Some people hit it sooner because their path started earlier, but your turn will come if you keep raising your temperature. The moment you stop is the moment your ice stays frozen. Here's the funny part. The moment you finally see results, it's almost anticlimactic. You'll think, wait, that's it? That's the moment? Because by then you've changed internally. You're not shocked by your success. You're proud but calm. You've built discipline, not just results. And that's the part no one talks about. The plateau doesn't just build skills, it builds you. It makes you resilient, patient, grounded. You learn to trust the boring days, to love the process even when there's no applause. So the next time you feel stuck, like your effort isn't paying off, remember the ice cube. Remember the bamboo. Remember that the most important work happens when nothing seems to be happening at all. You're not failing, you're compounding. You're not behind, you're pre-breakthrough. Progress doesn't happen in straight lines. It happens in quiet curves that suddenly spike upward. You can't control when the payoff shows, but you can control how long you keep showing up. Every repetition, every early morning, every "this feels pointless" moment, it's all heat being added to your ice cube. You just don't see the melt yet. And when that moment comes, when the ice finally turns to water, when everything clicks, when people start noticing, you'll look back and realize those pointless days were actually the most important ones. The plateau wasn't wasted time, it was the warm-up act before your performance. So keep the faith, keep the heat on, and stop staring at the ice. It's melting, you just can't see it yet. And when it finally does, don't act surprised. You earned every single invisible degree that got you there. You ever notice how habits are like that one friend who can either make your life amazing or completely wreck it, depending on the day? Yeah, that's habits for you. They're double-edged swords. They don't care whether they're helping you or hurting you, they just keep doing whatever you've trained them to do. If you build good ones, they quietly make your life smoother, easier, and more successful. But if you build bad ones, oh boy, they'll sabotage you slowly and politely, just this once at a time. Habits don't judge, they just repeat. And repetition is powerful, whether it's saving your future or setting it on fire. Let's say you start your mornings by going for a jog, drinking water, and planning your day. Great habits. They set a positive tone. But if your mornings look more like hitting snooze 6 times, scrolling social media until your soul leaves your body, and then rushing out the door with a half-burnt piece of toast, congratulations, you've got habits too, just the kind that slowly drain your energy and self-respect. See, habits don't care if they're good or bad, they're just patterns your brain gets used to. And your brain loves patterns. It's lazy like that. It's like, oh, we're doing this again? Cool, I'll automate it. That's the scary and amazing part about habits. They compound. Every little choice you make adds up. Good choices compound into progress. Bad choices compound into problems. You skip one workout, no big deal. Skip a week, you feel sluggish. Skip a month. Suddenly walking up the stairs feels like hiking Mount Everest. Each small decision is like one vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And over time, those votes add up. You don't gain or lose control of your life in one big moment. It happens one small habit at a time. Think about it like money. Compound interest makes your savings grow if you invest smartly. But if you rack up credit card debt, compound interest works against you, and suddenly you're paying $300 for that $50 pizza from 6 months ago. Habits work the exact same way. The little daily things either build your wealth of progress or drown you in the debt of bad decisions. That late-night junk food? That procrastinated task? That "I'll start tomorrow"? They all add up, and before you know it, tomorrow has turned into 2028. And here's where it gets sneaky. Bad habits often feel good right now but hurt later, while good habits often feel hard right now but pay off later. Your brain loves short-term rewards. It's like a golden retriever that wants treats now. That's why it's so easy to binge watch a show instead of working on your project. Your brain's like, look, we're happy now. And your future self, who's stuck doing double the work tomorrow, is just sitting in the corner, glaring at you. But when you flip it and do the hard stuff now, Study, exercise, clean up, save money. Your present self grumbles, but your future self throws you a party. Let's make it real. You hit the gym for 10 minutes, feels like nothing. But keep doing that every day. Your energy goes up, your clothes fit better, you start walking with that confident main character vibe. Now flip it. You skip workouts and keep saying, I'll start Monday. By the way, Mondays are so tired of being blamed for everyone's broken promises. After a few months, your motivation drops, your stress rises, and suddenly even your dog's judging you. Small wins and small losses both compound. The difference is whether you notice it early or too late. The tricky thing about bad habits is they're quiet. They don't ruin you in a day. They sneak in disguised as comfort. It's just one more episode. It's just a quick snack. I'll scroll for 5 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 2 a.m., you're dehydrated, your to-do list is still untouched, and you're Googling how to fix my life in 1 week. Meanwhile, good habits work the same way but in reverse. You don't wake up shredded after one salad. You don't become rich after one smart financial choice. But if you stay consistent, they compound invisibly until one day the results are undeniable. Let's talk about how our brains play a role in this. When you repeat a behavior, your brain starts creating shortcuts, neural pathways that make that behavior easier to do next time. It's like carving a groove into your brain. The deeper the groove, the more automatic the behavior becomes. So if you've spent years reinforcing bad habits, your brain's got deep trenches in all the wrong places. Changing them isn't impossible, but it means building new roads while slowly closing the old ones. That's why breaking a bad habit feels like swimming against a current. Your brain is literally trying to drag you back to what's familiar. But here's the good news. This same system that makes bad habits powerful is what makes good ones unstoppable once you build them. The goal isn't perfection, it's direction. You don't need to overhaul your whole life overnight. You just need to start steering the ship 1 degree at a time. If your habits are slightly better today than they were yesterday, you're on the right track. Remember, compounding doesn't care whether it's working for you or against you, it just keeps multiplying whatever you give it. And let's be real for a second, nobody escapes this rule. You can't opt out of compounding. Every single day your habits are either working for you or against you. There's no neutral. You're either improving or decaying. That's why awareness is everything. Catching your small mistakes early is like noticing a leak before it floods the house. It's easier to fix one drip than to replace the whole ceiling. If you make a small bad choice, it's not the end of the world. Just don't let it turn into a pattern. 1 donut won't kill your fitness goals. 5 donuts every night might. 1 skipped study session won't ruin your grades. Skipping all week will. It's never about what happens once. It's about what happens consistently. Here's a fun truth. Your bad habits aren't evil. They're just outdated systems that once made sense. You snack at midnight because it comforts you. You procrastinate because it avoids discomfort. You scroll endlessly because your brain loves novelty. But those same behaviors that used to serve you are now sabotaging you. The key isn't to hate them, it's to replace them with better versions. Swap scrolling with reading something interesting. Replace junk food with snacks you actually enjoy but don't regret. Make your habits work for you, not against you. At the end of the day, habits are like autopilot. You're either flying toward your dream destination or heading straight for a mountain, and you might not even notice until it's too late. The same repetition that can make you unstoppable can also make you stuck. But that's not meant to scare you, it's meant to empower you. Because once you realize habits work both ways, you can take back control. You don't have to break bad habits. You can outgrow them by replacing them with better ones. So yeah, habits are double-edged. They can be your best friends or your worst enemies. But here's the twist, you get to choose which edge you use. If you make small mistakes, they'll multiply quietly until they bite you. But if you make small improvements, they'll multiply just the same, only this time in your favor. Every choice is a seed. The question is, are you planting weeds or flowers? The truth is, your future isn't decided by one big moment. It's built by thousands of tiny ones that seem meaningless in the moment. You ever notice how sometimes you don't fail because you're lazy or unmotivated? You fail because your environment is basically setting you up for it? Yeah, let's be real. It's not that you don't want to eat healthy, it's just that every time you open your fridge, there's a tub of ice cream winking at you like, hey, remember me? Motivation might get you started, but your surroundings decide whether you actually follow through. That's what environment design is all about. Setting up your world so the good habits are easy and the bad ones are a pain in the neck. Because truth is, your willpower is like your phone battery. It starts full in the morning but drains fast, especially after work, traffic, and people being people. So instead of relying on sheer motivation, you design your surroundings to make good choices almost automatic and bad ones inconvenient. Think about it, you don't eat chips because you decided to, you eat them because they're right there staring at you from the counter. You don't scroll social media for hours because you plan to waste time, you do it because your phone is always within arm's reach and your brain's like, ooh, dopamine. We humans are environment-driven creatures. If you walk into a dark room, you don't decide to turn on the light, you just do. If your TV remote is right next to you, chances are you're gonna binge watch something, even if you swore you'd read that new book. Your context, what's around you, shapes your behavior more than your, I'm totally gonna be productive today, speeches ever will. Let's say you want to eat healthier. The old approach, I'll use willpower. That lasts about 2 days until you're staring down a pizza menu like it's calling your name. The smarter approach? Design your environment. Keep healthy snacks like fruit or nuts visible and ready, and move the junk food out of sight, or better yet, don't even buy it. Because here's the rule, if it's easy to reach, you'll do it. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. That's not just a saying, it's neuroscience. Your brain takes cues from what's in front of you. You're not weak, you're just human. And humans are visual. Now flip it. Want to quit a bad habit? Make it harder to do. You spend too much time on your phone? Delete the social media apps from your home screen, or even better, put them in a folder labeled, do you really need this? So you have to feel judged every time you tap it. Want to stop watching TV late at night? Unplug it or take the batteries out of the remote. You'd be amazed how fast your brain goes, too much work. We humans love convenience. The path of least resistance always wins. So instead of fighting that, just reroute it. Make the good habits the easy ones and the bad habits the annoying ones. Environment design is basically like tricking your future self into behaving better. You're setting traps for laziness, the good kind. Want to work out in the morning? Lay out your gym clothes the night before, right by your bed, so you have to physically trip over them to ignore your workout. Want to study more? Leave your books open on your desk so when you sit down, it's easier to start reading than to open TikTok. It's not about motivation, it's about momentum. When your surroundings make the right choice obvious and simple, you don't have to think, you just do. Ever notice how when you go to the movies, you eat popcorn even if you're not hungry? That's environment. The smell, the bucket in your lap, the dark room, it's all designed to make you snack. Stores do the same thing, they put candy near the checkout line because they know your self-control is weakest when you're waiting and bored. Meanwhile, gyms put mirrors everywhere to make you aware of your effort, and maybe your abs if you've got them. Environments are constantly shaping your behavior, it's just that most of them are designed by other people. So why not design your own? Let's say you're trying to be more focused while working or studying. You can't just decide to focus. Your brain doesn't work that way. You have to remove distractions. Turn off notifications, keep your phone in another room, close those 27 browser tabs. Don't lie, we all do it, and maybe even change your space a bit. A clean desk equals a clean mind. Messy space equals messy thoughts. You can't expect your brain to operate like a productivity machine if your environment looks like a tornado of snacks, cables, and half-finished ideas. And it's not just physical environment, it's social too. The people around you shape your habits more than you realize. If you hang out with people who complain, procrastinate, or never chase goals, guess what? You'll blend in. But if you surround yourself with people who value growth, who read, exercise, or push themselves, suddenly that becomes your normal. Humans are herd creatures. We adapt to fit the environment, and that includes the social one. So if you can't change your friends right now, at least limit how much energy you spend on the ones who drain you. Here's a fun trick. If you want to make a habit stick, anchor it to something already in your environment. For example, every time you brush your teeth, do 10 squats. Every time you make coffee, write down one thing you're grateful for. The environment becomes your cue. Your brain starts connecting the habit to the space or situation. That's how consistency happens. You're not fighting yourself. You're cooperating with your surroundings. See, we like to think discipline means pushing through obstacles, but the truth is, the best kind of discipline is invisible. It's built into your environment. If your house is full of distractions, even the most motivated version of you would struggle. But if your setup makes doing the right thing easy, suddenly you don't even need willpower. You're not swimming upstream anymore, you've just redirected the river. Let's say your goal is to read more. Step 1. Put a book where you usually waste time, like next to the couch or on your nightstand. Step 2. Make it harder to fall into your old habits. Move your TV remote somewhere annoying, like under your bed or in another room. You'd be surprised how many habits vanish just because you've added 5 seconds of friction. That's all it takes to break the autopilot pattern. Environment design works because it acknowledges something honest. We're not as disciplined as we like to think we are. We all have moments of weakness. But when your environment is working with you instead of against you, even your weakest moments won't do much damage. You can set yourself up for success or sabotage, and it all depends on what's around you. Think of your environment as your silent teammate. It's always influencing the game whether you notice it or not. If your kitchen looks like a bakery, you'll eat like a baker. If your living room looks like a movie theater, you'll sit like a couch potato. But if your space reflects your goals, a clean desk, a visible to-do list, a water bottle in sight, your actions will naturally follow suit. You become what your environment encourages. So don't just rely on motivation. Motivation is like that flaky friend who hypes you up and then ghosts you halfway through. Design your environment so it doesn't matter if motivation shows up or not, you'll still move forward. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be clever. Make the right things easy and the wrong things annoying. That's not cheating, that's strategy.